Good morning. Lately, I've been getting very positive feedback on the rune readings I have been doing for people, and thank you for that. That's really appreciated, and it's always very nice to hear that that they were right, that the runes were right. Because, and I have to say the runes because I feel that I cannot really take credit for it because it's not really me doing that. Yes, I am the person that you ask to do a rune reading for you. But while I'm doing this, it is almost as if it's not really me doing the typing. I see them in a reading, and it's like the words come by themselves. The typing. I'm just an observer at that point. I see myself type these things, but what is coming out doesn't seem to be coming from me, from within me. So even though I very, very much appreciate all the positive feedback and I really do enjoy reading it, and I'm grateful for it, that if my readings help you, I think that is much more to do with the gods or your spirit around you that wants to help you, and maybe that spirit contacts the spirit around me at that time, and that is how these readings come to be. Now, this is all very metaphysical, and I could probably talk about that for a long time and never reach a satisfying conclusion, but I wanted to say something about rune readings regardless of I mean, apart from the ones that I have done for people, because I get these questions often, like, where do I start with this? And the thing is that with me, I had to go through so much crap to finally sort of come to my own conclusions about it without the help of writers or authors or books in general. There are good sources out there, but they're so far and few in between. There are some websites, and one advice that I can give you if you're looking into runes is that if it all sounds too airy-fairy, too positive, it is not going to be helpful. On the contrary, it's going to hold you back because you will encounter negative things in your life. That's just how life is. It's not all positive. You will encounter negative people, bad situations, problems within yourself and without yourself. And if the author or the reader does not include that in this package of knowledge that they're offering you, usually for money, then they are basically scamming you. They want to produce dopamine in you, make you hooked on the feel-good hormone that produces this in you. So you will come back to get that other hit of like, oh yeah, it's all good. And then your life around you may be falling apart, and you are neglecting to pay attention to that because this reader, this scammer, is telling you all these things that you want to hear. That is not why people should be asking for rune readings or tarot readings or even a birth chart reading in astrology. It's because you want help, you need help to fix a problem, or to fix a problem, maybe a problem within you, maybe a problem with you and the outside world, who knows. And the reader, the rune reader in this case, must be able to tell you things that you don't want to hear. Now, I usually get readings for a 3 Norns reading, which is a general reading, which is only advisory. So within a 3 Norns reading, you're rarely going to hear something outright negative. And if something negative is in that reading, it is usually in the past or in the now position, because the third rune is always advisory. You can at all times choose not to follow the advice. You have free will. You are in control of you. So if a negative combination or a negative rune falls in a reading like that, it is something that has already happened. It is happening to you right now, so it's probably something you're already aware of. And the third rune in that sense will advise you on how to deal with this problem. Now, a rune throw is very different in that sense that it is also advisory, but it advises you, or should advise you, also on the things that you're not aware of at all, which can be really bad. And the reader must tell the person this if it is really bad, because there are certain rune combinations that if they fall together face down are bad, really bad. Let's say this one, when it falls in a 3 Norns reading, it's never bad. This rune gets such a bad reputation, while in essence it is anything but. It is just magic in its purest chaotic expression. Now, if it falls face down, that means that this is something in your life, this chaos, that you are probably creating yourself. You have no control over the chaos in your life because there is chaos in your mind. You cannot exert control over your own mind when everything is chaotic all the time. You are subject, you are a slave to your own mind, to your own psyche. At that point, it's working against you, against your best interest. And if this happens and this rune falls like that in a throw, the reader should never, ever, in my opinion, tell you that everything's good, everything will work out for the best, because it probably won't. Because if this rune falls like that, face down, you have lost control. It's not going to get back on track by itself without some help from you. You need to be the force that puts everything back on track for you. Now, if it falls together with this rune, face down, let's say, they cross each other or they fall very close to each other. To me, that always indicates that somebody is using magic on you, black magic. And it's never, ever for your benefit if somebody does that. Even, let's say, that you have a problem. You have, let's say, a drinking problem. And I put these runes, and I pull these runes for you and they fall face down. Maybe in the best circumstances, somebody is using magic on you, maybe with the intent to help you get out of your problem, to help you get rid of that drinking problem you have, just as an example. But it's still black magic, because you don't know. You may assume, and maybe this other person assumes too, that they do this in your best interest, but at the end of the day, they are meddling with your free will, which is always black magic, in my opinion. Now, I don't want to sound as if I'm judgmental about people that want to help people, but I think that if you're using magic to help people in that way, that might be a bit misguided, in my opinion, because you are, at the end of the day, meddling with somebody's free will. That's just my opinion. Opinions may vary, very well, and if you do, then just leave it in the comments. That's fine. But yeah, that is something that I just wanted to talk about. And also, I've been doing this for a few years, and I'm fairly confident with everything to do with runes. And something else that I have noticed is that, yes, they have general meanings, but these general meanings are, well, general. They will always have a meaning that is personal to you. Even when you are doing readings for other people, this always comes true in one way or the other, comes through. For instance, this rune. Now, this is the rune for need, for endurance. In short, it's that's its general meaning. I seem to always draw this rune when people need to have more patience. This is personal to me. Like it's a personal meaning that I have through the years attached to this rune. And yes, of course, patience, endurance, they're not the same thing, but they are very similar. Patience is something that you can have for something that has nothing to do with suffering, while endurance implies suffering. So, yeah, depending on the runes around it or how it falls in a reading, this is always to do with patience when I do a reading for a person. This is just an example. Another thing that I have noticed is that a lot of readers do not make use of the eds, the sets of 8 in the 24. I only use the Elder Footwork. I never use any other. It's like, which I do try to, as much as possible, incorporate in my readings, that I pay attention to which ed is falling. If a person has a reading with only red runes, the second ed, Havi's ed, well, that indicates a lot of struggle in that reading for that person. If, for instance, the blue and the red are combined a lot, the third and the second ed, that may indicate a struggle with law or with bureaucracy or with legal matters. If a reading is only blue, that has to do with the person's influence or lack of influence with bureaucracy, and may indicate a sense of helplessness, even, especially when runes are falling upside down. A helplessness in the sense of facing bureaucracy or facing legal matters. If the green ed, that is much more to do with the personal living sphere of a person. If there is a combination of red and green runes, so first and second ed, to me that means that there may be struggles and fights in house. If there is a lot of blue and green runes, that can have to do with work. No separation between work and family life. It can be, and these are all just examples, things that I have noticed over the years of doing rune readings. Now, I have had readings for people that were, and I cannot go into much detail, but I have had readings for people that were one rune, a 3-north reading of one rune from each ed, and those always were very powerful. I mean, there was such a, I had one reading for a person who I did that, and she had this green, red, and blue ed, so first, second, third, in that order. That to me means that there is a real development of character happening for this person, because first ed, second ed, third ed, that is indicative of a huge of a very strong character that is still developing itself and growing even more powerful as they go along. While at the same time, this person, she had fire and water separated by a red rune, a green one and a blue one. So those are very opposing forces that seem to be battling each other. And that was a reading that I will always remember, because that was a person or a reading that to me indicates an incredible personality, because personality can shine through in a reading as well, which is something that I have always found very interesting. But yeah, that is just something that I wanted to say about it. Stay away from books that are written by cat ladies who call themselves Raven, Moon, Feather, or Moon Raven, or any of those stupid, made up, Wiccan sounding names. They're not helpful. They just want to sell books. Thanks for listening.